Yeah, education, I mean, today, what does it mean? Of course, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. What does it mean, education? Today, with the so-called Trump administration, they're trying to do away with education. They're destroying the Department of Education, and they got this woman McMahon, who's the wife of the world wrestling, who has no expertise in education at all. She's heading the department, and it seems as if the agenda is to keep the people ignorant, change history, a revisionist position, to revise history. I heard Trump was going into the Smithsonian Institute to take out everything. He's trying to destroy the National African American Museum, take out everything that tells the truth about our experience as a people in this country, to revise it, to whitewash it, as they say, take all the evil stuff out, but the cat's out of the bag. We have to really, when you think of education, you think of the children. We have to really be diligent about protecting our children. And I'm hoping it's not too late, because education, what's been on my mind recently is about this concept of normal.
Yeah, talk about that, Idris.
They've introduced this kind of the new normal the last few years. The new normal. Normal constantly changes. What normal means, a child born into a home where everybody's drunk, fighting, violent. That becomes the child's normal. Where there's drugs, alcohol, violence. That's normal for that child. And one of my favorite artists that I used to like to listen to and revisit his music is Curtis Mayfield. He had a piece called "The Other Side of Town," which I understand he migrated and he grew up in Chicago, and it says, "I'm from the other side of town, out of bounds, for anybody who don't live around. I never knew nothing about how to care or how to share." And he paints a picture of, how many of us in our generation grew up in the hood and in places where we weren't taught how to care, how to share, and we grow up to be adults. And what he describes in that song, in the opening lyrics of that song, is a very dark, dreary existence. He talks about the depression, constant depression, and how do young people deal with that? So one of the priorities and main things as parents that we need to do is protect the babies from that type of environment. And it's unfortunate, but there's still so many. I was sitting out on Fulton Street just the day before yesterday.
Talk about what
me and
you
my
see.
wife and a dude and man and woman walked past, and they were arguing, MF this, MF that, and she threw a phone at him, and I said, imagine a child growing up with them as parents in the environment, with them as parents, the mentality, what that child is going to experience. He said, he said, I want to go to the liquor store. That's what he screamed out. We as a people, man, we're in very dire straits, because one of the main agendas, and they're being successful, is separating black men from black women. We're at war with each other in this country.
I noticed that.
The women are angry at the black man because they say we didn't vote for Kamala Harris. But there's a serious divide between black men and black women in America. And this has been going on, you know. I'm old enough to remember when the migration, so-called Great Migration from the South to the northern cities. My father migrated from Georgia, but my mother, she was born in Harlem Hospital, and her mother migrated from Virginia. But the idea that the welfare, you know, black women getting on welfare. And I never forget, like sitting on the front porch, and they always came in pairs, white
Social workers.
Social workers. And we had to hide our fathers. My father was always working. He left the house. He was out of the house by 6 o'clock and didn't come back till 7. So he was never home during the day, during the week. But they would always come looking for evidence of a man in the house, you know. I think that's portrayed in the movie with James Earl Jones.
Claudine?
Claudine, that movie.
The movie Claudine.
Yeah, I experienced Diane Carroll, right? I experienced that, you know, hiding evidence of a man in the house. You know, so that was always the idea is to drive a wedge between black men and black women. You know, drive the men out of the home. If you wanted that the welfare money, you had to deny the existence of a man in the house.
Now, how does that show up today, brother?
Today, it's probably worse than it was. The men were in the home, but they were working back then. This is in the 50s and 60s. Now the men aren't there, you know, for real. They successfully achieved their goal.
That's painful to know that truth.
To drive the men out of the home, you know. So they, you know, and who did it affect the worst? The children. You know, much of their success today in driving a wedge between black men and black women is single-parent homes. You know, women trying to raise men. You know, men, it's difficult for a man to raise a man because there's so much of the interference that comes into the home now. When we were kids, television went off at 12 o'clock. You know, you got the national anthem, and you got the boom, you got the pattern, you know. Now, the programming is 24/7. It never stops. So all that interference that's coming in is virtually impossible to raise a child without the influence, the outside influence. You know, and now with the cell phones and it's nonstop programming. You know, the computers, the phones, the video games, all that. Talk about influences. You know, they usually use that term for YouTube people that they're influencers. What about the other stuff that comes into a person's mind through television? All that's influencing. All that contributes to to a person, not just children. We all influence. So what you decide to consume mentally, you know, visually.
You got 1 minute left. We're
Okay.
closing out this piece on education. What you consume.
What you consume mentally, you know, through your eyes, through your ears, you know, it has a drastic effect on who you are. You know, if you consume a lot of garbage in, garbage out, you know. So, and we're seeing that, you know, young people today are in dire straits. I thank Allah I'm not a young person. You know, the influences are so vast and so much, and so much negative content. You know, how do you come out as a normal human being? How do you make it to the other side of normality, of what's normal? You know, if we can't make peace and love normal for our children, then we're lost. You know.
Man, thank you for dropping some science on us today. Radio Raheem reporting from Bed-Stuy. We'll come back with another clip of serving up some good information for y'all. Peace.
Peace.